Okay. Teman-teman semua, dear the audience, welcome to one of our panels. Here we have Dido Michielsen. Is it right? Do I say your name correctly? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. So in this panels we are going to have like Dido in the Netherlands, me myself in Koh Samui, Thailand, and also our friends there at Rumata Art Space in Makassar. So that is the beauty of the technology.
Actually, I'm in Bogor.
Oh, you are in Bogor. Still a long way to swim.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty.
Oh yeah. Anyway, this panel is going to be conducted in Bahasa Indonesia and also in English. To those who are in need for the interpreters, you can click the interpretations buttons below in our Zoom screens. Then you can pick between Indonesian to English or English to Indonesians. Not a big deal. And then let me welcome you again to Makassar International Writers Festival, a festival that has been held independently since 2011 and has won like so many awards, including the International Excellence Awards from the London Book Fair 2020 for the category of the Best Literature Festival. And Makassar International Writers Festival is also the flagship programs of the Rumata Art Space, originated from a small event, but had a significant impact on the community. Like last year, we also had the panels about the migrants, workers, and also the refugees. And now we are here having a sessions with Dido Michielsen on something else, which is going to be very interesting as well. So hopefully that all the panels conducted by Makassar International Writers Festival will give the impact not only in the literary arenas, but also into our societies. So yeah. And mind you also that for the further information, you can visit their website at makassarwriters.com. And in these years, in 2022, Makassar International Writers Festival returns with a new theme of the festival, which is awakening, a theme that reflects the current situations. Like, oh gosh, everywhere we see it's always war and etc. etc. We hear more bad news than good news recently. So hopefully this is going to be like an acknowledgements or awareness of a completely different post-pandemic life and that we have gone through these past 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And mind you also that these programs, our panels with Dido Michielsen is also supported by an independent publisher's Margin Kiri. So I've seen also we have Ronnie Agustinus and some friends from Margin Kiri's here. Hello, Margin. Thank you for translating Dido Michielsen's book. I really love the books. I just hate the ending. Sorry, Dido, I said that.
Now you say it again.
So I wish that Dido can give us a little bit of twist in the endings, but too bad. You know, why do every great stories have to end up tragically? Yeah.
So you remember.
Yeah. So without any further ado, dear friends, let's just get our panel started. Here we have Dido Michielsen. I thought she's in the Netherlands at the moment, but it turns out that she is in Bogor. And mind you also that Dido Michielsen is a writer, a journalist, and a houseboat owner. Wow, I would love living in a houseboat. And the winner of Handelsprize 2020. And she wrote like several non-fiction books before making her debut on the 3rd September 2019 with her novel Lichter dan ich, Lighter Than Me. Ooh. You know, it is quite a little sad, Dido, because my grandparents, you know, they speak Dutch, But unfortunately, us, the grandchildren, has already forgotten, it's like how to speak in Dutch. Yeah, or is simply translated as lighter than I in English. And the book is a voice for her native and Indian ancestors, sharing a story about the colonial society in the Dutch East Indies, and it has been shortlisted for the Habentable Prize 2020, longlisted for the Libris Literature Prize, and won the Book Trade Prize of 2020. And the book is also adapted into a theatrical work brought by the Cortal Sturman Theatre Bureaus. Yeah, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure
And this
that
play,
yeah.
the play is now selected for a special theater festival in the Netherlands, which is a big honor.
Wow, it
I
should
mean,
be. It should be.
they,
It should be because the book is just absolutely amazing and wonderful. I wish that we can have the different endings still, but because I am an old romantic fool, but then So, Dido, like when I read the book, I rolled my eyeballs out. I was crying because it's just so easy, like to relate myself in that, like in the situations that Piranti has gone through. Like, how did you come out with such an idea of creating this kind of creatures like Piranti in your story?
well, this book is based on my great great grandmother.
Is she?
And
Don't tell me that she is a nyai.
she was, she
Oh
was.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I never knew her, but I have her photo. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me now at the moment, so I cannot show it. It's on my website. But my mother wrote down her life story. My mother was born in Purwokerto,
Mm-hmm.
and she moved before the Second World War to the Netherlands. And then she wrote down her story for me. So, of course, the first photo was of my great great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this magical story. She was a princess, and lots of Indo-Europeans have princesses as their ancestors. Perhaps you don't know, but everybody makes up something about it.
Right.
And the strange thing was they never wrote down her name. The only thing was this story. And I know more about her daughters and my grandfather. She was the grandmother of my grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I started to read about this era in which she lived, and I thought, oh, this is so interesting because things started to change in society. And that's when I decided I'm going to write her story and also to honor all the anonymous mothers that were nice at that time and until World War II, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically these stories comes like from your own personal experience as well as and mixed with a little bit of the fictions, right?
Yeah, it's fiction and part of it is true, but
Yeah, but
lots you cannot prove. So
mm,
I decided to turn it into a novel.
lovely. But I think you have done well, like so exquisitely and far beyond just writing, because the research that you have conducted and everything. So I was quite a little bit amazed at that, when I read the books and found out that Dido Michielsen even know like there is a motif in Jarik, in Patik Skoruja Sinte. Me myself, I was born in Yogyakarta, close to the Kraton, did not even know that there is such motif called Rujak Sinte.
No.
No, and but this is the most interesting part also, Tito. Like, I know that you are a journalist, but then in order also like to compile all those stories from your great grandmothers, all right, into these books, for sure you have also conducted such kind of research. And how did it go? So like, did you spend like a particular times living in Yogyakarta or Indonesia or something?
Yes, I spent 10 days in Jogja with a guide who was very well informed about what we were going to do. So I told him, tell me, where could she walk? Where couldn't she? Well, it was forbidden. What could she do here? So he helped me bring her alive. The yellow house she lives in really is in the Kato. You know, that makes it, that's why I'm here now for my next book, to make it real. Because you
Oh,
can see a lot on YouTube has a lot of beautiful films about Yogyakarta
yeah.
in centuries, but you
Mm.
still have to be there to feel it somehow.
Yes, yes. And I was also so amazed, like when like when you describe the Gatot Kaca dancings, and you can also
Yes,
know, so like basically it is more than a dancing, like a woman will have to pursue the man's, etc., etc., etc. To me, it is really, how to say, like, wow, so I think like in my opinion, and I also appreciate you to bring that kind of facts to us, the Indonesians, or maybe a Javanese like me who is even blind to our own cultures. But I guess 10 days is quite a little bit short to gather all these informations, no, Dido?
yeah. But that's really what was so amazing. I became enthralled with the culture of
Mm,
Java. You
mm.
know, of course, I didn't know that much. We had a lot of stuff at home, but and batik and wood carving and everything.
Yeah.
But I never realized how old it was, and that they were not the barbarians, but the Dutch were.
Lovely, lovely. And there is also one thing that intrigues me the most, Dido. I know, like, Piranti may comes from your, reflections toward your great grandmother here, but like, somehow I also feel like Piranti is also way more advanced than than the ladies in her era, because we are talking about like 150 years back. There is one issues that I highlighted here, and I am very much interested in it, like how would Dido Michielsen's like put a soul in these Pirantis. There is one part, like when they are trying to do the Gatot Kaca dance and Piranti approach Ponijo, you can really see that women is not the prey for the sexual predators. Now Piranti expresses her sexuality freely and everything. Like, how could you put such soul to the characters itself?
Yeah, I guess that's just imagining you're this innocent girl. In a way, she's innocent. She has feelings. She's developing herself, and just imagine you're her. That's also why I wrote the book. That I thought, well, how would this be for Japanese parents to have a daughter like that? And how would it be for this girl who's not very well educated, but she's curious and she thinks there must be more to life than just obeying everybody?
Lovely, lovely. Anyway, Dido, let me leave you for a while. So I would like to remind also our friends here, the audience here, like if you have any like questions or something, you can also write down in the chat, in our chat box, to Dido's regarding to whatever it is. And so yeah, while we are having the discussions, we can also read your questions. And mind you also that all the things here is recorded for the purposes that we can also rewatch it later. Okay. Oh, back to Dido Michielsen. I also read in some of your interview, Dido, sayings like, oh, the all how to say that you emphasizes that shame from the past is more than a recent things, right? You said like, oh, this is what people always say to my parents, I don't know, because the interview is in Dutch, so I use the Google Translate.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they always tell to my parents that, oh, you know, we have done good there, etc., etc., etc.
the
Well,
Dutch.
yeah, well, in fact, the stories that you are presenting to us give us like a new perspective of what colonialisms can do, you know, can do, and so on. And it is just so sad, in my opinions, knowing that, you know, like most of them still see us as an exotic creatures, but then by the end, just like Piranti, we end up with nothing. How relatable you've seen that kind of things, you know, that kind of issues to the recent days, Dido?
Oh, well, of course, I did not expect that it would be translated into Indonesian and when I wrote it. So I just wanted to perhaps teach the Dutch a lesson too, make them look, because we have a huge amount of writers who wrote about the Dutch Indies back
Yeah.
then, but it's always from a colonial perspective. And I really wanted to give the other perspective in with her.
Hmm. So, so basically, oh, I now I can hear myself echoing. So basically, you wanted also the people in the Netherlands to know that, you know, to see the colonializations and everything from the different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
And there is one thing that you have just said that, you know, intrigued me a little bit. You have never ever expected that, you know, your book is going to be translated in Bahasa Indonesia. So tell us, like, how did it go, you know, from the beginnings? How can you finally met Margin Kiri and finally
yeah.
got your...
Well, that was all. There were two translators interested in doing this, and one of them succeeded in contacting Martin Kiri, which
Mhm.
was completely without my doings. So but when I heard it, it was the first language it was translated to. I was very touched because it was like she was coming home, you know? That's
Yeah.
how it feels.
And how does and how did it goes, you know, like, because the translation and everything, especially from Dutch to Bahasa Indonesian, there must be like some terms going on. So is it a tough work or...
I don't know. You should ask Marta who made the translation because I cannot even judge it. I have no idea if it's a good or a bad translation. I
Oh,
suspect
definitely,
Kiri will.
mm. Definitely, it's a very great translations, because a lot of friends who contacted me are saying like, "Oh, Deska, you are going to host a discussion with Dido Michielsen. Her book is just so flowy. The language and everything is so
Oh,
digestible."
nice.
So yeah, still I
Yeah.
expect like different ending, Dido. All right. So anyone who wanted to have a little bit of who wanted also to ask Dido a questions, please do so. I also how to say, like, saw several, you know, like friends I've known for Martin Kiri here. Hello. Let me greet them all as well. Hello, Masroni, Rose, and also TC. Mm. So yeah, Dido, very interesting, huh? Mind you also, dear friends, that Dido's book is also, how to say, like, adapted into the theatrical work. Maybe we can see the thrillers of the work first, and later we can also have a discussions about it. Dear teams, Rumata teams, maybe we can, you know, like play the videos. Hello. Oh, yoga or tim MIWF, tolong mungkin videonya bisa di play ya. Jadi teman-teman juga bisa lihat.
Tunggu Mbak Diska.
Sip. Okay. All right, dear friends, let me remind you again, if you have any other questions, please write down. And here it is, the thrillers of Lichter Than It, Lighter Than I, adapted into the theatrical stage.
Dat plotsige kriebel aan je oor, dat ben ik. Die vlinder om je hoofd, dat ben ik. Niet bang zijn. Dat vogeltje dat laag in je zicht vliegt, ik. Tjangantak.
Ik ben zwanger. Wat ben ik toch een sukkel.
Het is ook jouw kind. Je zou het kunnen erkennen, zodat ze nog iets van de toekomst heeft.
Dat zou mijn familie nooit accepteren.
Toch vind ik dat we naar een oplossing zouden moeten zoeken.
We? Zei we?
Luister, mijn kind. Wie weet dat de wind ooit op een dag jouw oren zal bereiken en je zal weten wie ik ben. Wie ik ben. Wie ik ben. Moeder is.
Okie dokie. So that is the adaptations of Lichter Than Ik in the theatrical arenas. And I'm so, Dido, I was so sad because I could not even understand any Dutch, even though my parents speak Dutch. And we are, so yeah. But how does it feel when you compare your work and into the theatrical stage or anything? Is there any like differences? Do they really get the message that you wanted to convey?
Yes, I think they did a beautiful job.
I really loved it.
Yeah, the story was, it was bigger than the book somehow, because it has completely its own life. They made the main part was played by 3 women at the same time. They were on stage all the time, and they talked to each other. And in the beginning, I read it and I thought, whoa, is that going to work? Will the audience understand that? And in the end, it was so magical. And the director said, we did this because she would be so alone if we didn't do it. Now she's not that alone. And it was true. It was comforting in a way. It actually, I don't know who understands Dutch, but the complete play is on YouTube.
Yes, later we are going to give you like the link for, later we are going to give the audience also for the link for them to watch. It is just so sad that, yeah, it is just so sad that they, they do not have the subtitles in English. I watched it like 2 days ago from the beginning to the end, and it was just so lovely. Like you see, beautiful, very beautiful. Like you see the old Varia speaking like in the 3, like a 3 different way. One as herself when he was young, as a nyai, and then as a mother. But then, of course, so lovely. Anyway, Dido, I would like also to invite our beloved friends here before I would, and of course, due to my curiosity, I would love to ask some questions also to the publishers. Here I have Mas Roni and also Rose and TJ. Like, let me give a little bit of work to Roni Agustinus here from Martin Schieri's and asking like, why is Martin Schieri interested in Dido Michielsen's work? Mas Roni, could I invite you to the stage and give a little bit of explanations to us? Like why finally Martin Schieri takens like Dido's Michielsen's work and translated into Bahasa Indonesia. Is Ronnie here? Hello. Oh, is it the connection? Oh, or maybe Rose from Margin or TJ. Oh, I think they are also, they're experiencing some kind of troubles in them. Is Ronnie here? Anyway, I would love to know also, like, why in the end, like the Indonesian publisher is interested to, how to say, like, to translate it into bahasa Indonesia. And yeah, but too bad, maybe like they are also experience some connections problems. Anyway, Dido, there is also the audience here, and most of them have read their books. I know some of them, and they really praise these books. And I would like to invite them also on the stage. If you have any other questions, just please open your mic and then, like say some things. One of them is Ray. I know you have something to say to Dido. Please, anyone. While waiting for Ronnie and maybe Rose. Is there any, if you have any other questions here, just raise your hands and, like we give you the spot to talk, yeah? Ray or anyone else? So anyway, Dido, while waiting for our friends, like to be on the stage, etc. I was quite a little bit intrigued also, like to know. I can see like the reception in in the Netherlands regarding to your book is so positive, right? Yeah, but then I am also intrigued, like to know, like, there are a lot of books, like what you've said before, telling about the East Indies, like, the Hidden Force by Louis Copperus, or the Tea Lords by Hela Hase. If we are talking about Nyai and everything, there are lots of books talking about it. If I can ask Dido Michielsen, not as a writers, but then as a readers, and see your own books, how would you comment on on that books, like what makes the difference from those Dutch indies authors?
Well, it starts with the perspective, of course. Everybody looked from a Dutch point of view. Even Louis Couperus also. And the nice thing is, when I was doing my research about Nyais, I found a book that was translated to Dutch with stories about Nyais, only positive, like they were human all of a sudden for the first time. And one of the stories was written by my great grandfather. And that was a big surprise. So it felt like a tradition. He wrote a story called Njai Isa. His name was Ferdinand Wiggers. He's also in the book, I mentioned him. And I thought, well, I can use her name for my book.
Oh, so Isa is definitely like not only the fictional figures, but there is somebody named Isa over there. And
he wrote fiction as well. He wrote fiction, but they were Indo-European writers and Chinese writers who wrote in Malays so people would understand. They didn't want only Dutch people to read it, because that's what the Dutch did, of course. Long time they didn't want to have the Indonesian people educated. And they tried to change that.
Oh, lovely. So basically, this is also something that I can see from your books, Dido, that you really, really wanted to show, not only in the Dutch audience, but also the other, the other audience. I wish like the book is going to be translated also into English, so we can reach like the wider audience, like the different perspectives, the different perspective of a Nyai, that she is also a woman, a mother, longing to be loved, longing to be this one. Well, Dido, we have a question here from Ray. So Ray, maybe instead of writing, you can just ask Dido directly, like, what is it?
Okay. Hello, Dido. So I'm Ray from Bandung. So I actually haven't finished the book yet, but I found it very I found the translation is very smooth, so I can enjoy your writing so far. So my question is, I believe you must doing some research while writing this book. Is there anything fascinating that happened to you during the research, or you found out something that I think, you consider new or exciting during the writing or and during the research for this book? That's my question. Thank you.
Well, I didn't research to find the real great grandmother. I only did research to make a fictional character come alive.
Mm.
And then, of course, everything I saw was so much richer than expected.
So you did visiting. I'm sorry. You did visiting Yogyakarta, right?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Did you? You did visit Yogyakarta, right?
No, I went to Yogyakarta.
Yes. So how the time? Sih gimana sih bahasanya? I mean, do you like your time there? Do you find Yogyakarta
Yes.
fascinating or anything?
Yes, it was wonderful. You have to look through old eyes, age-old eyes. I mean, that's what I'm doing now. I mean, I was in Jakarta, now I'm in Bogor. I'm going to Pekalongan just to do research for my next book. And you suddenly see all those buildings and all those objects that were there a century ago. So that's exciting, because everything time I think, oh, this is important. I was in Jakarta looking for a house that could be the house of my next how do you say it? Hoofdpersoon? I don't know the word. The next character, main
Your
character.
friend. Oh.
Yeah, and then suddenly I found a very small bit torn down house, but I thought this is it, and that's so wonderful that you can feel you can go on after I found this house. I could move on with the book.
Lovely.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ray. So, Dido, what is the next books about? Is it also about the sequel of these books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote the first book to establish the birth of the Indo-European people. I wrote it actually also for them and for the Dutch, because they never understand what is Indies, what is Indonesian. They don't see the difference. So I thought, well, I explain it in my book. And then my next book is about their identity. What were they? They were called European officially, but of course, they were not. They were discriminating themselves, but they were also being discriminated. So that's her life of her daughter. It's her daughter going to look for her mother. But you know how it ends.
Oh, so it is going to be like the other ways around. Spoiler, spoiler.
Yeah.
Because what breaks my heart as a woman is like this Nyai, does not even given like the chance to even meet the daughters or even to raise the voices. She would have to stand in the shadows. you know, and it's just something that is breaking our heart as a women, knowing that kind.
But it was like that. It was like
Yeah,
that.
it was
It
like
was,
that.
there were so many thousands of women who had a life worse than in my book.
Yeah, but do you also see like several peranakan in the Netherlands, and also maybe like happen to know some of them? Uh,
Well, they're not described that specifically. But in
mm,
my next book, I write about Paranakans as well.
wow, we are waiting for the sequels.
You know,
Chris,
the Dutch have no idea what went on. They have
mm,
no
mm.
idea. And
and,
then
and
the
excuse me,
beautiful thing was, I'm sorry,
excuse me,
can I
you,
go?
you were cut off before.
Okay. Well, the beautiful thing was what I didn't expect was that a lot of Indo-European people from in their 20s and 30s were very moved by my book because suddenly they understood where they were coming from.
Mm.
And I had not expected that.
Mm. Well, basically, as an Indonesians, also maybe we some of us only know this kind of things from those, you know, like those books that depicts the colonial era, like Pramudias, whom also talks about the nyais and
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yes, and you know, but then we will never know like what is going on at that times, you know. So I really wish like to see this kind of things in your next books. I
I have to
mind
wait.
mind you everyone, also if you have any other questions, just please like raise your hands and then open your mic, or if you have to say, if you don't feel like about talking, you can also like type it in our chat box. Let me hold Dido for a while. Can I go back to Ronnie here? Ronnie, are you still available and there? Because Ronnie got the internet problems, I think. He told me. No. If not Dido, there is also a friend of mine whom happened to watch these shows, you know, like whom happened to know that you know, like I am now with you, and she happens to read your books, but then sadly she cannot join because she would have to work. And she was curious, like the first thing that we discussed at that time is like, how did Dido describe all those places, especially in the traditional markets, Kali Chode? You remember the Kali Chodes and everything, because nowadays those pasar is so different, you know, than back then. But
Yeah,
your description is just like so wow. Like
well,
trading.
that's also thanks to YouTube in a way, because when my great great grandmother lived, people started photographing and filming that for the first time. So that's how how I got my information from the internet.
Oh, so basically, also basically, you got it from the pictures and all the information from the internet, and try to
Yeah,
relate yourself, transport it back
yeah.
back
You
then,
start
18
to look
something.
through different eyes, and of course the Kraton was the only place you could imagine how it was in 1850s.
Yeah, I bet like the Kraton back then was even more grander than what it is now, huh? Because like
Yeah, some parts were, but some parts weren't. And of course, there were earthquakes and things like that, which I also had to look up every time.
Mm, mm. And so it is like you are doing all the puzzles, you know, because
Yeah,
even
it's a
for the
lot of fun.
earthquakes and everything, you know, I Google, is that really, did we really have the earthquake back then?
Yeah.
at 1876, and it turns out like it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, well done. Anyway, dear friends, if you are also welcome if you wanted to ask the questions to Dido. Dido is going to have like her book tours very soon here in Indonesia, right, Dido?
Yes.
Mm.
I'm the big launching is on July 2nd at the Erasmus House from the embassy, and I'm going to do some book signings in Yogyakarta, I think.
Please save like one signed book for me. As soon as I return to Indonesia, I'll just grab it and I say, "Oh, this is from Dido Michielsen."
That's
Okay, anyone? Let me remind you all again that to those who has the questions to have a question to Dido while waiting for those from Martin Curie to talk. Because I'm curious also to know about what they think of Dido's work. Why is it translated?
me too.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, Dido? The title itself is so intriguing in my opinions. Lighter than me somehow sounds so philosophical.
Yeah, but it is, but it's also, of course, about the skin color.
I think it is more than a skin colors because it also talks about the heart of the mothers, the heart of the women's, and the value of humanity and compassion. That is what, that is what matters in these books.
Yeah.
So yeah, lighter than me is not only, to me sounds a little bit philosophical. And it is after I read the book. Dido, I also have the editors from Martin Curie here. So I think I saw TJ. Hi TJ, are you there? TJ? Oh, Ronnie cannot join fully because he has just arrived after delayed flight all the way to the airport and to home. Oh, too bad. But can I just ask like some friends from Martin Curie, maybe like PJ, if you can give us a little bit of like info, like why Martin Curie is very much interested in these books and translated into Bahasa Indonesia later. Oh, she's in the middle of the festival too. Too bad. Everyone is just so busy, and everyone is just so busy either in the festivals or on the way home. Yeah, but to those who are here, you are also welcome. Mind if I ask also our audience friends, have you read Dido Michielsen's book, or you are in the process of reading like Ray? No. There is a friend of mine also, and we were discussing about your book this morning, and I said like, oh gosh, I really love this book and I'm falling in love with this book. And he happens to be, he happens to read your books too. So Master Gu, you said like you have plenty of questions to ask to Dido. Now is your chance.
Where is he then?
Oh, Master Gu. Yoo-hoo, Master Gu. Oh, I think is it raining there in Indonesia or something? It seems like everybody got the connections problems. Anyway, Dido, how long are you going to stay in Indonesia for this time?
I'm leaving July 4.
Oh, so it is going to be like a month full of research.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, the funny thing is, I was in the Kebun Raya
Mm-hmm.
before this session, and walking there and admiring all those huge trees. And then I realized, how big would this garden have been 100 years ago?
Mm. Mm.
So
And
you cannot assume that all those enormous trees were already big then.
yes, yes, yes. And did you see also like the old graveyard in Kebun Raya, Dido?
Yes, yes, with
I
the Indonesian grave in the middle.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was thinking like, back then, like how is the life led by these people? Is it as same as what it is written in Hela S. Hasse's books, or in those books portraying about the Dutch Indies, etc.?
Yeah, I think the people who were at the graveyard were all very high.
High rank
Um,
officers, yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
and they were not friends with Indo-Europeans. Only the white people
mm, 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 mm.
friends.
Anyway, Dido, I am quite a little bit curious here because he said about them, I don't know, about the Dutch versions of Lighter Than I. But in Bahasa Indonesia versions, we use the diction of Babu as a maid.
Yeah,
Yeah, is it the same with the Dutch version?
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Babu is maid or a nanny.
Yeah, a nanny. Yes, yes. And somehow I was like a friend of mine. A friend of mine and I were discussing about this kind of diction choices this time, and we were thinking like, why did Dido pick Babu? Because recently in the recent Bahasa Indonesia, the terms Babu and Jongos is not like is a
Yeah,
derogatory terms, not like when
yeah.
we hear the song of Tante Liz with the Van Dort back then. Is there any like specific reason also for that, Tito?
Yes, because they used that word then. You
Mm.
know
Mm-hmm.
that it was. I don't know how it is in the Indonesian translation. I didn't check, but I used also the old spelling,
Babu, yeah, B-A-B.
babu, and all the words that are in the Dutch version are all in the old spelling, and they talk about inlanders. I don't know if you know the word.
Yeah. Mm. There is also a question here from a friend, Tito's, out of curiosity. He's asking like, when if we relate this book to the conditions there recently about the Indonesian exoticism, is it more than the skin, or meaning like physical appearance, or there is also the white supremacist mentals there in the, because in the
I
literature,
really understand.
like if we can relate this book to the recent conditions, to the Dutch nowadays, they always they might still think like, oh, Indonesia and also the peoples are very exotic. Do you think like it is more regarding to our like a physical appearance, or is it just some kind of white supremacy?
In my book or in general?
In your book and in the general.
Well, in my book, I of course try to avoid it because she's a Japanese woman.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a small example, a lot of Dutch books about the East Indies are always singing praise about how green and nature and everything. And I realized this woman was born here. For her, it's normal. She's not going to say, "Oh, how lush is the green forest." This is just as it is. She doesn't know any better. So that's what I've been trying to do. And I think there was a woman from the Leidse University who wrote a big article about my book about decolonialism. And I think that if I made a mistake in that and tried to make them more exotic than they were, she would have noticed that. But she was content with it. She said it's all very consequently done. So I hope I didn't do that. Made them more exotic or more attractive. Or, of course, the Dutch aren't very popular in my book. That's true.
Mm, mm, mm. But Dido definitely in this book is so powerful, and I wish that it can be translated into some other languages so we can reach like more audience and give awareness, not about, not about the colonialisms itself, but the impact. And most of all, there is the voices of a women that wanted to be heard, a mother that is longing for the children's, etc. And but then it is very interesting also, like you've said, the description, like what I've said before, the description is so powerful. So you can even describe the food. And you are going to go to Yogyakarta. Are you planning to take a bite on that food too?
Of course.
So what did you miss the most from Jogja or Indonesia, Dido, when you are away?
What I miss most?
Yes, because we also have Pasar Malam in the Netherlands there, but I'm sure it's different than the real Indonesian here, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I guess the weather.
Or maybe it is the roots that calling you, saying like it is home.
Yeah, in a way it does, but that's the funny thing. I'm both. That makes it so complicated for Indo-Europeans. They don't know where they belong to.
And this is I think this is what we are going to see in the sequel of this book.
If I can pull it off, you will. Yeah, because that's so difficult. You are the colonial kind of person, and you belong to them, but you're also part of the colonialized people, and that makes it complicated. And they also, but that's in the Netherlands, people always say, "Oh, the Indische people are so well adapted," and of course they were taught here. If you want to move on in this world, be like a Dutchman.
Yeah. Well, Dido, there is also another questions here. Like, hi, Dido. When I first heard about your book, I was excited, but when I read it, it was beyond my expectations, she says.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I think your book is beyond everyone's expectations, because lighter than I, we were just thinking it is some kind of story about Nyai, but that just it. We never know like it is going to speak to us in so many different ways.
I'm
And
so happy it does.
Yeah, and she also said like,
we could have also said, well, what is she thinking? She's from the Netherlands.
Yeah, and what's that, Dido?
Well, I was also afraid that people in Indonesia would say, how does she dare to write about Anyai? She's from the Netherlands.
What she knows about Anyai, right? Maybe they will think that way. And she also say like, I am half Jogjanese, but I know nothing about batik and kraton, partly because I was born and grew up in some other city in Bandung, but also because I didn't feel like I belonged to the Javanese. when I read the novel, I cried eternally, and on my second reading, just bawled my eyes out. Oh, she bawled her eyes out. She's crying out loud because you describe things and Piranti's feelings to, like to whatever happens to her very vividly. To say that I was absurd in an understatement. My favorite character is Chanting for saying all Dutch are pig. Can you tell me more about her? And this is also interesting. Chanting herself is raised as a nyai with, like with more fortunate background, right? Rather than
Yeah.
Pirantis. Yeah.
In reality, Chanting is my great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the wife of Ferdinand Wiggers.
Mm-hmm.
And she had 3 children, as is Njai, but Ferdinand Wiggers was also mixed blood. So he
Okay.
wasn't purely Dutch. I think the first Dutch in his ancestry came in the 17th century with the VOC to the
Maluku.
Molucca.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maluku.
And he married a woman there and then moved. So Chanting was the favorite grandmother of my mother. She said the other grandmother I was a bit afraid of, but Chanting raised her like those grandmothers did in those days. The mothers went out and the grandmothers took care of the children. And I needed, of course, but that's purely technical or literary aspect. I needed somebody who could explain things because Piranti is a very simple, uneducated woman, and I needed somebody who could explain about the situation in society, and that was why I chose this form. So she tells her story to Chanting.
Oh, I see. But isn't that also very interesting, Dido? Like knowing we also have Lot in this book who happen to be like peranakan too, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, but the way she sees herself and the way Chanting sees herself is just so different.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, like like how we are so proud with our blood and our peranakan and everything, because in this book Lot tries to deny
Yeah.
the Indonesian bloods and just go with the white one, thinking like white is better, and here Chanting says like Dutch are pigs. Now what did your Dutch reader says about this when you
Oh no, they feel ashamed. They feel
oh
ashamed.
really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. At least the people who tell me they like the book, the Dutch people feel ashamed. And of course, Lot is in that during the beginning of the 20th century, people really started to believe in the Western world about the white supremacy, of course. They thought it was scientifically proven that they were better in everything. So that's how a lot of shame and denial came about in that part of society, in the Indische part.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. So really, Dido, we are looking forward for the sequels, huh? Because
Well, Martin Kiri.
yeah, that margin kiri, please support Dido in the research, because like yes, the book may end, Dido, the story may end when Piranti says like, I'm not going to look for my children's anymore. It may look end, but I don't know why, but I just got the feeling that the stories, there are still a lot of things that she wanted to say, but she cannot say. And it is the job of Dido Michielsen also to, like to voices the stories, I think. Okay, dokie. I think we can, how to say, it's like, I think we can just wrap up all these things if there is no other questions from the participants, yeah? Is there any other questions? Or can we get back to Ronnie Agustinus? Ronnie Agustinus, if he has better connection. Oh, I guess not yet. So the things, dear friends, I would love to remind you that, you know, Dido's book is basically beyond of our expectations. So please do read the books, and it will give you like other perspective of, you know, Nyai and colonialisms from, you know, different angles. You will definitely love it. And if you are a woman, an old fool like me, you will also expect like different endings, and you like what one of our, you know, like what one of our audience says, like it will just give another, you know, you will roll your eyeballs out, you will cry with Piranti as you go through her pains and everything. A lady coming from Kraton, neglected as a child, she cannot get her place, you know, she does not, she knows her father, but she longs for the father's figures, longing for the freedoms, running to the wrong guys, and, you know, ended up as a nyais. In the end, she would have to even say goodbye to her beloved children. So I would really recommend you as a book reviewer and also as the house to read the book. Please just read the book. Okay, Dido, is how to say, like one or two last words. Is there any message that you want to convey to the audience here to spread? Not only.
Well, I think, of course, if they read my book and they cry, but they should also can also be proud of their own heritage. That's also what I wanted to put in this book: the richness, the old age, all the things that live here, that they not forget about that.
So in other ways, you just wanted us to be proud of our roots, yeah. But I think Dido, but I think Dido, why you always fall in love with Jogja and you cannot just get it away? I think it is just because also there is the roots in you that keeps calling you, come home, Dido, come home.
Of course, I'm also proud that part of my blood is from there.
All right then, so we still have like some minutes left. So dear friends, I would love also to invite you to later to open your cameras, and then we are going to take the photos together. This is basically like typical the nowadays Zoom how to say, like Zoom conference, Dido, that we will have to take the pictures in the end of the sessions. Mind you also that we are going to have the next program at Makassar International Writers Festival. For further information, check their website. We are going to have menulis syair lagu tak mudah with Rara Sekar and hosted by Ahmad Nirwan at Rumatas after this. And please visit MEWF at Rumata Art Space from 10 to 9 p.m. every day from 23rd to 26th of June. And all these kind of discussions you can be accessed on YouTube Rumata's Art Space. And we would love also to thank Martin Kiri and Dido Michielsen for coming here. It was too bad that, you know, like those from Martin Kiri are now busy or experience the bad connection, so we cannot gain some more infos from them. But I'm sure, like, you know, next time there will be another discussion and we can talk about it more in the sequels of Dido Michielsen's book. I would love to invite every one of you to open your cameras at the moment, and we are going to take like the pictures, yeah? Everyone, to those, Mas Teguh, Andi, and everything, please like just turn on your cameras and we are going to take a pictures of it. Okay, MEWF team, could you give us, hi TJ, oh TJ is live from Makassar, international writers at the moment. So tim MEWF, please bisa tolong ambil foto ya. Oh, Ronnie, you are there. You just come in the last minute. We are trying to gain some info from margin kiri. Okay, MEWF, please on your count or on my count. Like 1, 2 on my count. Yoga pose 1, 2, and 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much. Oh, okay.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you very much for coming, Dido. I wish I could hear a little bit of word from Ronnie Agustinus because I was curious, like why Martin Kiri finally picked this book, Lighter Than Ink. Ron, you are still on mute. Oh. Ronnie is always a techno geek anyway.
It's gone.
And, yeah. Anyway, Dido, please save a copy of a signed copy of your book for me, and I would really love to get it as soon as I return to Indonesia. Danke well. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Thank you, Martin Kiri, and bye bye. We'll see you in the next discussion. Bye, everyone.